She was super elated when she heard that Mr. Miles was going to come over to their house. Prue and her sister Grace are young girls who have spent their whole life with their father and mother in a little small house. And no, the father wasn't so poor that he couldn't send them to school. He just didn't deem it fit that a girl should go to school. He was still living in the past, and Prue hated it. For that reason, she kind of hated her dad. She knew it was wrong, but she just didn't care. He never let her out of his sight. It was super annoying, and she was so frustrated. But luck has changed because Mr. Miles, who is working for the education board, heard that two young girls in their town don't attend the school. So he decided to come over to their house and talk to their father. She just knew this was her chance, so she can be able to go to school and meet new people, make friends, and not just get locked up and help her mom bake. She is tired of that. Mr. Miles walked into their house all elegantly, and you could know that this man just sips out wisdom. Hello, sir. We got a report that your kids don't attend school. I heard there are two girls. I just really came here to know why you refused your children from the right to education. Mr. Wilson was shocked when he heard this strange man who entered his home and is questioning him about how to train his daughters. No, he is not going to take it. He flared up. Who are you to enter into my house and question me about how I train my daughters? That is so wrong, and I can report you and call the police for you. Prue was shocked. She stood behind the curtains and was wondering why her father is really so mean. Mrs. Wilson ran out of the kitchen with a cup of tea for this unwanted guest. After hearing her husband scream, she just knew that this wasn't going to end well. Prue stood behind the curtains and wondered why her father was like this. Mr. Wilson was a very strict, uptight man. You could call him a trad man. He just never really believed that a woman should go to school or get education. He was still very behind. And even his wife, Mrs. Wilson, knew that. But she just didn't have the strength to argue with him. If he didn't want his daughters attending school, then fine. They would grow up, work in the bakery, and then get married. It was amazing. Even she thought it was fine. And Prue just really wanted to disappear from that house. Mr. Miles took a sip of the coffee and then thanked Mrs. Wilson. Then he proceeded and said, Sir, I really don't want to have this conversation with you, but your children would have to go to school, and there is nothing you can do about it, because the Board of Education has said every child has a right to education. Sir, I just have no arguments here for you. That's it. Prue was just so happy when she heard that. She knew her father can't argue with the Board of Education. He can't argue with the government. I mean, he is pretty connected, but doesn't mean he can actually argue with the government, can they? She's never really gone to school to know anything about this. And then Mrs. Wilson spoke up. Finally. Sir, thank you so much for coming, but I think my husband here knows what's best for our daughters. And if he says they shouldn't go to school, he must have his reasons. And they are actually learning because I teach them how to sew. And skills is one thing that every woman should have. And my kids have them, okay? Mr. Miles was startled when he heard that. How can a woman say that? But he wasn't shocked. These are the ones who grew up behind, locked up in a room, and then got married to men like them. He really felt for their daughters. He really hoped he could do something. What do you think Mr. Miles is going to do? Do you think he can actually make Prue and her sister attend school? Find out in the next episode. Mwah! This is still Rajmi's home of fun and love.